So you've taken a missile to midships, there's a fire in the reactor, and the bridge is open to space, and all you've got is a fire extinguisher. Welcome to episode 5 of this series, Damage Control. In this episode we will go through the elements of damage control in-game, how they operate mechanically, and how we get repair teams by using various components when building a ship within the fleet editor. There are 2 components to understanding damage control in-game. The first is in the upper left-hand corner on the ship card. The fire icon will be displayed anytime one of your components within the ship is on fire. Fire is a priority for damage control teams. If you see this indicator, you know that your damage control teams are moving to rectify and put out that fire as soon as possible. The next icon on the ship card is the orange number. This will appear when components are damaged and are providing an active debuff to your ship. On screen we can see an example of 6 components that have been damaged and the reasons why, such as fire and atmosphere leak. As the damage control teams move to rectify the fires and the atmosphere leaks, this number will decrease and then eventually disappear. The final item we'll talk about on the ship card relating to damage control is the red destroyed component indicator. This is fairly easy to talk about. Anytime a ship component is either destroyed or is no longer able to function, that number will count up, and when the mouse is hovered over, the component will be displayed. One of the worst indicators you can see is not actually on the ship card, but right next to it. The flashing hazard triangle with a countdown next to a ship, it means that a reactor overload or an ammunition magazine cook-off is imminent. Damage control teams will rush to that area in an attempt to put that out, which, if it's unable to be put out, will result in the ship's destruction via explosion, destroying nearby ships within a 2-kilometer radius and creating electronic jamming within the blast sphere. The second part of understanding damage control within the game is in the bottom right hand corner of the UI. Firstly, where the mouse is showing, we'll say damage and a number. That number will display how many components within this ship have taken damage. Unlike the orange and the red numbers in the top left, this will affect all partially or fully destroyed or damaged components. So if one component loses 1 or 2%, it will add 1 to the tally of this number. To the right of that is the number of damage control teams this ship currently has, followed by the number of component restores that the ship is able to perform on fully destroyed components. Below that is an at-the-glance view of the DC board or damage control board, which can be expanded by clicking the grey box containing the above numbers. This will open the damage control board proper. From here you'll be able to make an informed decision on all your damage control activities, where to prioritise repairs, to enact restores, and to see which components are fully functional, damaged or destroyed. The colours of a component indicate how much health and functionality it has left. A green component is healthy and functional, moving through yellow and orange down to red for a component that is nearly destroyed. Destroyed components are by the grey boxes. By hovering your mouse over one of the components, you'll be able to see additional information including the component's name, how much health it has remaining, as well as any active debuffs associated with that component. The other aspect of the damage control board is directing your damage control teams. Damage control teams start near their damage control compartments, and when idle are represented by the orange circle with the white spanner and hammer overlaid on top. Damage control teams are each made up of 5 people. When a damage control team has 0 people left, that damage control team is no longer available to be used within that ship. Damage control is a dangerous task. For teams that are responding to a damaged or destroyed component, that component is likely still under fire from the enemy, so be careful about sending too many teams to the one location at one time. When a component is damaged, the damage control team will automatically move to repair that component. Sometimes a component will be destroyed, and you'll be able to restore that component using one of your restores. Restores are limited and should be used sparingly on key and vital systems of your ship. To restore a component, select one of the grey boxes indicating a destroyed component. Your damage control team will move to reinstate that component through a lengthy restore procedure. When that process is complete, you'll regain functionality of that component. However, that component will be severely damaged and never return to full working order. In-game, this does not affect the performance of the component, however allows it to be easily destroyed a second time. Now that we know the mechanics of DC and how it works in-game, we can understand how we equip our ships with damage control teams when we create and equip our ships within the fleet editor. There are 4 damage control compartments within the fleet editor and 2 compartments that can be used to buff these other 4. The first and the smallest of the damage control compartments are the small DC locker and the reinforced DC locker. They provide the same functionality when it comes to damage control, however the reinforced DC locker costs a little bit more, but is a little bit more durable in battle. When determining performance of a damage control compartment, look under the stats to see the number of teams provided, the restores available, how fast that team moves, and the repair speed in health points per second. These damage control compartments are available on all hulls due to cost as well as the best use of space. You may see these on larger hulls such as the cruisers or maybe a battleship due to points restrictions or power manning restrictions. The large DC locker is a proportionate increase in stats compared to points of the small DC locker. Again, available on all hulls, less likely to be seen on the smaller hulls, as the larger compartment spaces are in premium, whereas on the larger hulls, the minimum or smaller size of the compartment will easily fit a large DC locker. The rapid DC locker is a bit different from the small and large DC lockers. It provides less repair teams who operate at a higher performance in both moving between compartments for the move speed as well as repair speed, however it provides no restores. This is a great compartment for those who want a first response, as sometimes seconds and the ability to repair quickly is what will save a ship from a reactor overload, especially on an expensive battleship. So consider this when you have a large ship that you've invested a lot of points in and you want to keep it alive for a little bit longer. So the 2 compartments that provide support to the damage control compartments are the small workshop and the damage control center. Similar in operation, they provide a buffing stat, one to repair speed and the other to a repair speed as well as movement speed. At the same cost, it's easy to take one over the other and allows you to pick whether you prioritize repair speed or moving and repair speed. The buffs that these compartments provide to your DC lockers is stackable, so by taking one, more or both, you can increase the performance of your damage control teams. There is a diminishing return on these DC support compartments. We can see that at the bottom of the screen, where a small workshop provides a buff of 25% repair speed. The DCC provides 15, so we should have a 40% buff. However, when I provide the 2 at the bottom right hand corner of the screen, we actually receive a return of 38.82%. This diminishing return will increase the more support compartments we add. So that ends it for all the compartments that provide or support damage control. A few final thoughts. Damage control teams will prioritize what they repair, such as reactor overloads, magazine cook-offs and fires. You, however, have to prioritize how you use your restores, and this will be situational and dependent on the ships and your strategy. So when you start off, consider which compartments you use a restore on. Compartments that wouldn't be a bad idea would be the CIC, the Command Information Center, which you'd also refer to as the bridge. Without it, the ship can't operate its guns, its systems, or its maneuver. It's basically dead in the water, so you want to get that back online first. Your reactors or your power. Without power, none of your components can function. Depending on the game mode that you're playing, maybe it's feasible to leave your broken ship there as a stationary platform, so prioritizing key weapons or electronic warfare to support the rest of your fleet. Or 2 or 3 game modes currently within the game are objective based, so thinking about engines and thrusters and using the hull to score objectives while the rest of your fleet deals with the enemy. Alright, that ends episode 5. I hope you learnt something about damage control. It's not as scary as it seems. The game has a really good tutorial on this, so I recommend that you play that before jumping into your first game.